All Blacks what it all meant. Sachi and Sachi were working with the NZRU to define the team's brand values. This long consultative process revealed a group of words which included New Zealand, winning, power, masculinity, commitment, teamwork, tradition, and inspirational, as well as 3 words that would become core to the All Blacks: humility, excellence, respect. Sacred values are, of course, the bulwarks that have sustained some of the world's most successful organizations. Faith, hope, and charity, for instance, or at the other end of the scale, those of the United States Marine Corps. Honor, integrity, responsibility, accountability. Courage, do the right thing in the right way for the right reason. Commitment, devotion to the Corps and my fellow Marines. The Marines' core values are handed out to every recruit on a red card they're expected to carry with them at all times. I have them tattooed on my heart, says one Marine. As Marines were held to a higher standard, says another. After all, if you're going to die for something, it helps to know what you're dying for. Perhaps the new archetype of the value-based, purpose-driven company is Apple. In the early days of the company, as Walter Isaacson writes in his book, Steve Jobs, Mike Markula wrote the Apple Marketing Philosophy, a document which sought to define the company's values. Empathy. We will truly understand customer needs better than any other company. Focus. In order to do a good job of those things that we decide to do, we must eliminate all of the unimportant opportunities. Impute. People do judge a book by its cover. We may have the best products, the highest quality, the most useful software, etc. If we present them in a slipshod manner, they will be perceived as slipshod. If we present them in a creative, professional manner, we will impute the desired properties. Anyone who has ever opened a piece of Apple packaging, experienced an Apple interface, coveted an Apple product, or bought Apple shares will know how powerful these values are. Meanwhile, humility is not the first word that you would imagine belonging to a team of ruthless world champions. Yet alongside excellence and respect, it is central to the All Blacks' core values. The idea of humility as a central value grounds the team, creates respect, encourages curiosity, and generates bonds that sustain them in the heat of battle. It is a deceptively tough word that is communicated in everything they do. It's part of their story. Once you have determined what your set of behaviors are, says Wayne Smith, and what you are striving to achieve, you have to keep feeding it. Leaders have to develop concrete actions so that values become part of the story. In the All Blacks, it's about the sweeping of sheds, the signing of autographs, the rugby club, the charity work, the connections with the community, the hospital visits, the simple stuff, the being of team. Successful cultures are organic and adaptive. They change and flow. Yet always just under the surface is a bedrock of value, smoothed by the current above, but unyielding. The success was being really good at that, says Smith. Really good at making our team talks, our reviews, or game plans all apply to the central story. First, we shape our values, then our values shape us. Vocabulary. In Chapter 7, we looked at the Florida effect, the way that priming works and how the language around unconsciously affects our experience to the world. Advertising agencies know this, of course. The word new in a brochure has the power to increase readership. For a limited time only, can create almost unlimited inquiries. Within the All Blacks, as within other high-performing environments like the Marines, the red arrows in Apple, there is a similar obsession with the formative power of language. Outstanding, accuracy, clarity, world-class, red hot. We were red hot today. When Wayne Smith joined the Chiefs after the All Blacks, he helped mastermind a linguistic revolution in the team. We started establishing a vocabulary, a mindset, and an attitude. he says, and Mauritanga, Maori culture became part of the common language. Attack became paua, meaning to strike, and defense became tainuu, or surging tide. The pre-season activity retraced the steps of local Maori tribes as they settled in the North Island, a tough physical journey. This vivid metaphorical language became the beginning of a rugby revolution. Words start revolutions. Mottos and mantras. As we see in the Black Book, mottos and mantras are a key part of the roadmap to the All Blacks mindset. These linguistic heuristics go straight to the heart of the belief system, becoming shorthand for the standards and behavior that is expected. Likewise, the spirit of Apple is captured in the language around the Cupertino campus in California. Stay hungry, stay foolish. Why join the Navy when you can be a pirate? Insanely great, think different, click, boom, amazing. Even the address of the corporate headquarters is infused with the Apple spirit. One infinite loop. Similarly, the spirit of the Marines is captured in their mottos and mantras. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Ductus exemplo, lead by example. Doing the right thing, held to a higher standard. First to fight. Whatever the nation asks, semper fidelis, always faithful. Common to all these elite teams and organizations is the use of smart, sharp, easily recognized and understood code phrases to define and declare their essential spirit. This is not empty sloganeering. When done properly, this kind of compressed thinking, in a sense, is one of the leader's most powerful tools. It aligns companies, countries, and cultures behind their distilled essence. Think about the best corporate slogans. Just do it. Nothing is impossible. Impossible is nothing. The power of dreams. Think, invent. They capture character in a sentence, change minds with a turn of phrase, and distill essence into a few words. The best teams, the All Blacks, Apple, the Marines, Nike, Honda, Adidas, harness the power of these mottos and mantras to reflect, remind, reinforce, and reinvigorate their ethos every day. The wise leader would do well to follow. Words start revolutions. Metaphors. The word metaphor comes from the Greek metaphora. Meta means over or across, and phorein means to carry. A metaphor is a figure of speech in which a word or phrase is overlaid onto something to which it is not literally applicable, in which an idea carries over and transforms meaning. Metaphors are a powerful and often unappreciated leadership tool. Some would argue that they are the basis for our understanding of life itself. In fact, if we believe Friedrich Nietzsche, all language is a metaphor. What strange simplification and falsification mankind lives on. For him, words and language are separate from the thing they describe, an analogy of reality, a simulacrum. We possess nothing but metaphors for things, he writes, metaphors which correspond in no way to the original entities, though there may well be metaphysics, a substance to reality. In his worldview, we are unable to process and understand, so we take a stab through language, metaphor, and story. Metaphors are where we recognize ourselves in stories, and where we attach personal meaning to a more public narrative. They create a visceral response and force us to rethink meaning. We literally recognize. This metaphorical nature of mind is essential to understand what drives human action. It is precisely through metaphor that our perspectives or analogical extensions are made, says American literary theorist Kenneth Burke. A world without metaphor would be a world without purpose. The greatest thing by far, said Aristotle in Poetics, is to have a command of metaphor. This alone cannot be imparted by another. It is the mark of genius. For to make good metaphors implies an eye for resemblance. So then, a story. One November evening in London, Wayne Smith was attending the theater, his mind ticking over. When the show finished, he hurried back to his hotel and wrote something down. The story of the Black Plague. I thought I must get the numbers off the jersey and place them on a black background, and it looked like a plague smothering England, and I thought it was a magnificent thing to see. I decided to name this the Black Plague. The Black Plague became the nickname for and the distillation of the All Blacks' defensive attitude and approach. The boys understood the irony of it and the power of it as well, says Smith. How the Black Plague hit Europe and there were so many victims. The Black Plague started in Asia last year, then it devastated Europe, destroying everything in its path, the small, the sick, the slow, and the fast. It was 366 minutes of trialless tests. The disease that has devastated Europe is re-emerging worldwide. What will it look like? Fast, pressure through set pieces, clarity of roles. It creates an image, doesn't it? Says Smith. That's what we want in defense. We want to smother them and swarm them and destroy them. That's what the All Blacks are about. Getting up and helping each other and smothering the opposition and giving them nothing. It's a visual metaphor that helps Smith turn his defensive vision into physical action, to operationalize the purpose, to turn purpose into practice. It was easy to understand, to remember and apply under pressure, and it could be tailored across all aspects of training, briefing, and even socializing. And it led to a World Cup. The key criteria for creating a change story is fourfold. The story must be credible and relevant. In Aristotelian poetics, it must have ethos, an authority and understanding of the subject and logos. It must make rational sense. It must be visual and visceral, appealing to the auditory. Visual and kinesthetic receivers in our brain. It must seize our hearts as well as impress our heads. In terms of Aristotelian poetics, it must have pathos. It must be felt. It must be flexible and scalable, as easily told around a campfire as across the boardroom table. This implies the use of simple everyday language and ideas, and it must be useful, able to turn vision into action. Purpose into practice, acting as a transfer of meaning between one domain and another, between your world and mine, between the leader and the led. Whether visual or verbal, motto, mantra, or metaphor, language creates revolutions. Invent your own language. Strong cultures need a system of meaning understood by everyone, a language and vocabulary that binds the group together. This must have its foundation, the values of the group, and this way the story stays credible and relevant. Shrewd leaders invent a unique vocabulary as shorthand for communicating new cultural norms and standards using specific words, phrases, mottos, and mantras. Then, using metaphor, the leader begins to bring the story to visceral life across as many channels as possible. In this way, language becomes the action and sustains belief. In this way, leaders rewrite the future. Invent your own language. Sing the world into existence. Hi aba te kai o te ranga tira. Hi korero, hi korero, hi korero. What is the food of a leader? It is knowledge. It is communication. Chapter 13, Ritual. We're not all Maori. We're not all Polynesian. Wayne Smith. Ritualize to actualize. Create a culture. New Zealand versus South Africa. Carisbrooke, Dunedin. 28 August 2005. The anthems are over. The crowd quietens. They know it is time. The All Blacks cluster together, creating a wide seething across the field. A lone voice cries out. It is Tana Umaga, the first Polynesian to captain New Zealand, a man of great mana. Taringa Wakarango, let your ears listen. In unison, his team crouches behind him. Umaga paces, his chest out, the silver fern, the black jersey, the chant continuing, momentum building. Kia Waka Wanua Awaya Bao. Let me become one with the Lamb. The team joined the challenge. Go Awataona e Ngaruguro Ne. New Zealand is rumbling here. The team advancing, stand tall and draw their thumbs across their throats. A new haka is born. Kapa Opanga, a new legacy. Ao ha. It's our time, it's our moment, and the All Blacks win, 31-27. People don't realize how close we were to kicking the haka out completely, says Gilbert Anoka. We were that close to losing the whole thing because we lost connection and understanding. The senior players were saying, the TV cameras are showed in our faces, and all we want to do is get the thing over so we can play. And it's not for us. Anyway, it's for the Maori people.